We're in session.
as well.
Hello, everybody. So a lot to go through today.
Yes.
And let's see. And John, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you great.
We're good.
Can't see me for the, anyway, let's go ahead and get the minutes, go through minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look those over? And if so, could I get a motion to approve?
I have one quick.
Sure.
On page, it says page 3 of 2. Under the Grow Solarization, it says Karen found other programs in lieu of Ameren, and it's actually in addition to Ameren.
Okay.
It's not in lieu of. That's it.
Yeah, I
Make
can't.
that.
We'll revise them.
Yeah, is
Revise them next and we send them out.
You are right now, because you're staying.
is someone available to take? I don't know if anyone virtual, that would be practical.
Right. I was gonna say, I'm happy to take, it's just trickier at home. A lot
Yeah,
easier in person.
yeah. Okay, well, Mike can do it here.
Okay, thank you. I'll pick it up next week.
Okay,
Thank
so I guess we
you.
should just change the record on the minutes to reflect that it's in addition to. With that change, can I get a motion to approve?
So moving.
I can second that if you need to.
Okay, all in favor?
I
All right. So we've got a lot on the agenda, but first things first, we have our former chair, Jamie, here to recognize, we want to formally recognize you, Jamie, for the amazing amount of work and effort and dedication you showed to this commission. That's why you led it. And I know that your work promoting sustainability in Webster Groves is far from complete. So, that we would like to present you.
Watch the bottom.
Oh,
Sorry, it's so pretty.
A
Oh,
token of our appreciation.
thank you, thank you.
You can,
That is gorgeous.
can always think about the commission when you're, watering your plant.
I think about you guys
Or
way more than it's healthy.
Or
So,
talking to your place.
I'll give you your two.
Well, I love the fact that you call it a sheet.
Yeah.
That's like near and dear to my heart.
And there's cupcakes.
And we have cupcakes.
Yeah.
Everyone, courtesy of
Thanks, everybody.
city to celebrate.
That's great.
I'm perfectly fine if people want to dig in during the meeting, 'cause I know
Yeah,
we have a lot on the agenda.
For sure,
That's
for
sweet.
sure. Well, thank you for the recognition, you guys.
Yes, they're vanilla, chocolate, and Oreo.
One of each.
One of each. There you go. That's the way to do it.
Well, I guess I'm happy you're going.
I'm taking the month off.
Actually,
right now.
Hey, Jeff, can
Yeah.
you pack one of those brownies?
Yeah, I'll,
I brought it to screen.
Zoom
We'll
button.
just show us
move a
eating about,
cupcake.
John.
Yeah.
Eating it, yeah.
But seriously, Jamie has left such huge shoes to fill. I don't know
Yes.
how we can possibly, I just can't even count the number of times. I know you spent nights and weekends doing a lot of valuable work, so.
Well, I
We
was
really,
just passing
really
the,
appreciate it.
the
Thank you.
box for the bags and I thought, who's gonna take those in?
Luckily, it's on the agenda.
Glad you said
You
that.
guys are completely capable. I totally trust all of the folks here in this room.
Just- I have faith we will see you around.
We
Absolutely.
will move on while
Yes.
people
Yeah.
snack on cupcakes.
And do you want?
You
Should
can
I
have some
take my
cupcakes.
leave?
No, no,
No,
no.
you're-
She'll take some.
You're next to have a visitor
Oh,
comment.
okay.
I don't think we have any other visitors.
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay, and with that, I am going to ask to move up another agenda item. Which is for Sean to introduce herself and. For those, I know we've all met you, but just formal introductions.
Email, yes,
As in tradition for the
it is,
commission.
the first time I'm meeting with most of you, well, those that are here in person, so it's
Very nice to meet you. Like I said in my email to you all, I'm thrilled to be here, and I've been working on entering the sustainability and climate resiliency arena for many years now, but my background is in project management and team leadership. And 2 years ago, I was feeling the weight and the pressure of the state of our world and planet. And so started working on my master's at Webster and just finished up last spring. So and I live in Webster. In fact, Karen, I think we're neighbors. I live on John Paul at Westwood Watson.
I live at Jungle on Westwood Watson.
I know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You've got to be kitty corner for me.
I'm the second house in from Westwood Watson, north of Westwood Watson,
Okay.
on the south side of John Paul. We have we have a ton of trees in our front yard. We're the house with a lot of trees. So,
Wow.
so,
Hey, neighbor.
yeah, hello, very nice to meet you. And also to piggyback off of recognizing Jamie, I have to say that when I started, I've had 2 meetings with Jamie so far. The first I was just a part of, but then Jamie took the time to sit down with me and we met for, it was at least 2 hours, if not 2.5 hours. And she sent me so much information that I'm still going through it all. I mean, so I can, just being an outsider and not even fully understanding the work that you put in for the last several years, I believe it because I see all of the information that's been shared with me from you. And I thank you for that. Thank you for taking the time to share that with me and to try and help me as I start.
Absolutely.
So, really appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet.
And thanks as a resident for all that you've done because it's important work. So
Thanks. It's it is the work of my life as well.
yeah.
Mhm. Other than my kids. It's for them.
Other than
Close enough.
Yeah. That's fine.
For our Peters.
Yes, exactly. Mhm, mhm.
And I think I mentioned this in the email as well, but the position is part-time. So if you email me, on a on a Friday, it might not be until the following Tuesday that I respond, but I'm in the office 3 days a week. For now, I'm over in the Public Works building, but once the greenhouse gas inventory gets started later this month, I should be spending a significant amount of my time over here actually with that students. But anyway, I'm 20 hours a week, so I'll respond as soon as I can, but just so you know, I'm part-time and, but if y'all want to make it a full-time position, I'm here for it. So anyway, it's very nice to meet you all.
Great. I know you've been like super busy already, so.
It's been
appreciate
great.
it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to update from Councilmember Bliss.
Well, council has not met for the second time this month. We just had a little 3-week, 4-week hiatus, but I did want to let you know that the Business Development Commission is having an open house on August 30th from 5 to 7 as a networking event. And it will be at the Recplex. And this is the second they're going to start doing these quarterly in an effort to connect people more easily and to help promote business and help get ideas flowing and action flowing a little more easily. So I encourage you all to come.
Sure. Okay, Todd, any updates from you?
The only thing I have is I emailed out the stormwater questionnaire for our stormwater master plan update. So this is something that the consultant put together to try and get information from residents regarding flooding in their areas. So I wanted to reach out to you guys, see if you had any input on it before we go live with it. We're gonna make it a separate web page. People can go online, fill it out and submit it. We figured people aren't gonna print it off, fill it out and send it in. So we have to do it online, so. But if anybody has any suggestions, comments, let me know and we'll get it updated before we post it.
You know, when you're anticipating putting this out?
Hopefully in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
I'm gonna be out of the office next week at a conference. So probably not till after that.
Okay,
But the consultant has started, they've started doing their walking of the creek channels to start collecting data, so.
Okay. All right. All right, with that, we will move on to old business and I guess, Sean, if it's okay, you mind
Sure.
giving us the rundown on where that stands?
No, I'm sorry, and Sean, I'm gonna go. I have my niece and nephew at my house.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Take them.
thank you all
So
very
good to
much.
see you.
I took 4.
Okay.
So-
Bye, Jamie. Thank you.
Bye, Jamie. Good job.
I know you're all amazing, so no, good, thank you. So I will not be a stranger, and I think you know that.
Yes.
Hey, thanks.
I'm gonna go
Be careful
log
with the
on.
button.
and
Watch the button. All right, thank you.
See you, Jamie.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So how and when do you want feedback on this?
Quick as you can, because I'm gonna try to get it posted in the next couple weeks.
I just give you mine.
Oh,
It's.
yeah, these comments here, I see it, yeah, about, leaks in Waldorf Flora Foundation, yeah, that's good to add.
I was trying to fill it out for in my own head for my
Yeah.
house, and it's like, it's not a wall, it's not a floor, it's definitely.
Foundation, yeah, foundations leak all the time. And then what do you mean about water table? Ponding in
Well, I
the
was
yard?
just trying to figure out if you were talking about ponding in yard, or
No, on
talking about
surface.
from,
No, on the surface, just a
Okay.
pool of water on the surface.
so the other one before that is flooding in the yard with. Sorry, let me just take. Sure. Ponding or standing water, so.
Yeah, that's the,
Yeah, never
Previous
mind,
question.
it's the same thing. I was just curious if that would be like a water table issue. But it doesn't matter.
Be a valley or a low point in their yard, potentially, right?
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, greenhouse gas inventory project. Okay, so that will be starting in early September. Todd and I had a meeting with Dr. Sharon Locke of SIUE about 2 weeks ago, I guess. Which was just kind of an introduction. We also talked about the students, and we do now have the student's name. Her name is Emma something. It's escaped me at the moment, but she's very eager. She's a graduate student, and I have a meeting with her and Dr. Locke for this coming Monday. We also purchased a membership through the ICLEI organization, ICLEI, which is the organization that houses the ClearPath software. And that's the software that a lot of municipalities use in doing a greenhouse gas benchmarking. So we went ahead and purchased a 1-year membership for that. So Webster staff, primarily myself, and the students will both be able to be inputting data and working on that. Hopefully, this project would wrap up around the new year. We'll see, but that's the goal. So.
Great. And next on the agenda is the Green Dining District update, and I know Amna is not here, so.
Yes, I can tell you that, Amna and I, she's very busy right now, but we are going to chat next week and she's gonna fill me in. I don't think there's been any updates since the last meeting.
Okay. We can circle back again next month on where that is.
Sounds good.
So the Green Space Advisory Committee speaker series, I know we had the mosquito talk. How did,
Yeah, Carla hosted, introduced Jean. I was in the audience. It was great.
You moved a table.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it went really well. I mean, it wasn't a giant turnout, but it was like, I think we came up with the number at the time, didn't we?
I think it was like 24.
Yeah.
It's good.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
and it
Yeah.
was the first time from my understanding that it was in that location. So,
I asked them if they thought it was in the library and they said no,
Yeah.
but the people who thought it was in the library maybe never made it, so we don't know.
yeah, there might have been a few others that tried or maybe saw the location and got nervous, but anyway, it was a great talk.
So what's next in that series for that
It's
series?
Eric Hayes from the middle school.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I contacted him, so I can introduce
Sorry.
Eric Hayes,
Okay.
Hayes.
Mhm.
So he's the one who teaches the sustainability class at the middle school. Yeah, it's called Power of Kids, the Power of Kids. I can introduce him. I'm the one who like liaised with him. I don't know if Elizabeth wants, I know there's at least one speaker that you're the connection for, right? Andrew? No.
I had I think it was Liz. Yeah, I think I had talked about one.
I'm sorry, I assumed she was up there.
She's not on there.
Yeah,
here.
she's not here.
Yeah, she was out of town. She was going to join virtually, but.
Okay.
Times is-
Yeah, sorry. So, anyway, yeah, hopefully she can do that one. And then the third one is,
We got the truth about plastics
yeah,
and exploring the intersection between healthy people and healthy ecosystems.
that the Healthy People, Healthy Ecosystems is her connection, is Elizabeth's connection. The other one, I don't have any particular connection to. If somebody else wants to,
What, do you know the date on the next one?
Yeah, I can tell you. With Eric Hayes, it's September 21st.
Okay, so that's, yeah,
they're all the third Thursday.
gotcha.
So then the next one is.
Who is the
October next.
speaker for the healthy people,
It
healthy
was that one?
ecosystem?
Who's the speaker on the?
The speaker is WashU biology professor Mark.
Mantufel?
Yes,
Yeah.
Manchufel.
Wanted to see you. Trey.
I know Mark, he's a good guy. He'll be good.
Oh, good.
And so did we, I mean, it sounds like you thought the marketing for the last series, the last event went pretty well since the turnout was pretty good.
Yeah, well, John jumped in at the last minute and put it on Facebook. I know, I don't know how much that added.
Jenny did share with me that, because there had been a little bit of a lapse since the previous one, so, and it kind of fell through the cracks on her radar. But she did get it out, on the socials, on the city, it's on the city calendar. So she did put the remaining events up on, all of her channels, and then I sent it to the Webster Kirkwood Times
Okay.
for the remaining ones as well. So the mosquito one didn't get in the Webster Kirkwood Times, but the rest of them
Gotcha, okay,
will be.
okay, great.
Wait, September, October.
Yeah, and I actually,
And November 6th.
Oh, November.
I'm sorry to interject
Yeah,
this.
no,
If we have time, I have a message from Corin on the Green Space Committee about the kind of joint work that we were doing and what still is going from that.
yeah, do you want to just go ahead while we're on the
Well,
Green Space
I
Advisory?
just have to look it up the same. I never ever wanna rely on my memory. Let's see. We have at least one thing worth discussing. Jake Roniker of Dark Skies has drafted a potential Webster Groves ordinance for lighting. That might be worth our time. Oh, I'm so sorry. I should have given it to everybody ahead of time. It's attached to this email for discussion, consideration, and further editing. And he gave Corin permission to pass it along. Regarding other initiatives, I think we push stormwater as far as we can for the moment, since the city has taken our collective advice and proceeded on revising the master plan. It might be worth revisiting briefly to discuss using that as leverage for more state and federal funding in the future, but that can probably wait. So he's wondering if there's anybody else in addition to me from our group who wants to kind of connect up. You wanna, yeah, because Jamie was doing that with me before. Okay, awesome. And let me.
I would like to be on that subcommittee.
Perfect, so. I know I must take your email in the list, but if you could put it down there, just so I know what, make sure I get the right one.
Carla, could you repeat what you said? What are you asking for people for?
So we have kind of a subcommittee with the Green Space Committee, and Jamie and I were the two people from this committee who were meeting with, Warren and Carrie,
Coyne.
thank you.
Carrie Coyne.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Carrie from Green Space,
Yeah.
and kind of working on things that overlap both of our.
Go Ed series.
Yeah, the Ego Ed series and some of the
Sustain-
stormwater stuff
stormwater,
leading
yeah.
up to this.
Yeah.
Things that kind of fit with both of our
Right.
committees.
And would now, if we had
Oh,
ideas of speakers, would now be the appropriate time to say it, or is this not the appropriate time?
I don't think so. I mean, we've got them planned out for the rest of this year, so probably later on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, or I'll send an email if we're gonna meet with them and we need ideas. But everything's kind of just you know, in shambles right now, so. Yeah, I'm afraid I would lose the information at this point. Is that, I
Yeah.
guess, so write that down, everything's in shambles right now.
I'll put that in minutes.
I'm just speaking for myself. Is that interesting, Trish?
They're right down here.
Oh, thank you. I'm finished now. Please proceed.
All right, okay, so why don't we move on to the Grow Solar Power Hours? And, I don't know, John, do you wanna?
Sure. So the thumbnail on what Grow Solar is it's a group buying program to drive down the price of residential solar by choosing one vendor and having that vendor be the preferred vendor for our community, and then getting a discount from that vendor by the vendor being able to cut costs by doing a lot of work in the same geographic area. And my understanding is the Grow Solar vendor was chosen through a process I think that maybe Missouri Botanical Garden helped drive. And I think it's called Green or something like that. I don't know them, but I'm sure they're fine. We've got two presentations, one face-to-face, one online, that are already scheduled. And then the cap is a house tour. And the notion, and so I think where this commission can be really helpful, number one is turnout for both the virtual and in-person events. I think it's worth encouraging people to go to the in-person event, because I think for a lot of people, the question of whether to go solar or not is complicated and difficult to understand. There's a lot of moving parts. You got to know about what can your roof bear, what way is your roof pointing, what is your electric box like, you know, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of moving parts. And so the Power Hour would give a chance for people to ask those questions, learn the process. So I think we want to drive turnout as much as we can to those two events by using social media, by working our own networks, et cetera. And then the house tour, I think, is important because it gives people a chance to actually talk to a live human being that's got solar panels and can tell their actual story. And I imagine a number of us have probably been on house tours, for example, on native plant gardens or sustainable gardens. I know the sustainable plant community does a lot of these house tours in the Metro St. Louis area, where there'll be, let's say there's 5 or 10 stops and it's Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon, and you just go at your own pace. You drop by, the participants get a list of the locations and they get to ask questions to that homeowner. To make that work, and I think it's a very powerful tool. It takes having people who've got solar in Webster who'd be willing to stick around one Saturday morning and have strangers come by and ask them questions. So I think that is the challenge there. So I'd ask this commission to think about, who do you know that's got solar that you could ask to see if they would be willing to be part of that tour. And I know we have the date set on that too. I'm in the wilds of Wyoming, so I don't have my calendar right handy. But I know we've got that set, and I think it should be, maybe it's even in the agenda. So that's sort of the big picture. Anything I should have covered that I didn't?
I know Elizabeth Shappy does have, I know one, I don't want to throw her under the bus, but I know she does have solar panels and was willing to participate at one point.
Right.
Yeah, except
I
she
think
says
it'd
she
be a
has
great one.
construction.
Yeah, so cool
Yeah.
or something?
Something.
Can't remember.
Yeah. Sure, yes. Karen.
So, I seem to have a lot on my mind today. I met with the people from the green, the subcontractors who are doing the gross solar to think about my house.
Okay,
And there is, I don't know if there's anything we can do about this, but there is an Ameren rebate that in order to, for this company, I think it is called Green, and actually they just changed their name to something else, and I don't know what it is, but in order for them to guarantee that people can get an installation in time for that Ameren rebate, which the deadline is the end of this year, they have to know by August 31st if somebody's gonna go through with an installation. And so I don't know if there's any way we can get word out to people in advance, like if you're interested and you already know you wanna do this, you know, you can call this company or, I don't know. But
I don't
it's-
think we can, that's 10 days away.
Right.
I think we can't do that, but I think we've got the IRA benefits, the Inflation Reduction Act, federal dollars. I know one thing on our agenda is talking about city dollars. So I think identifying those sorts of public funding opportunities will be a key part of this process, and that those other two trains are leaving the station at a time that fits with our calendar.
yeah, so I think it'd be difficult to get word out in a meaningful way. I mean, that would have been helpful.
Yeah.
But, so on the 9/27, the virtual event is, make sure I'm clear, who's gonna be running that event?
Practice host.
My understanding is that that the key players would be Kat Golden from Missouri Botanical Gardens, and I'm sure there's somebody from the vendor. I was figuring I would, to the extent that there is any role for introducing people
Okay.
wearing the Webster Groves hat, I'm glad to wear that hat. But my thought is, I'd probably like welcome people, and then my role will be finished to be, but
Gotcha.
maybe manage Q&A, maybe not, but I think it's largely going to be these the two experts wrapping stuff down.
Okay, so would it be the same for the in-person event at the rec center? This would be their show that we just sort of help facilitate and,
Exactly.
okay,
Yeah, because my understanding is they've got sort of a cookie cutter thing where they go, where they know, here's the ground we cover, here's how we cover it. And so I think my job is to kind of get out of the way.
gotcha, okay.
So just because Jamie's not here, should we pass out bags at the October 5th
Sure.
event?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and
Do you know about the bags?
Do I know about the bags?
Yeah.
I carry one of the bags in my car. It is one of my.
So, but just, you know, if you get a chance to grab some before that event.
I think anytime we
Yes.
have face-to-face
Yeah,
interaction
You
with
should
people.
take
we
back,
should,
take a box of bags with
you
you.
know, yeah.
They're nice bags.
Oh, they're great. They're
Yeah,
great.
no, I literally have it in my car. I love it.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Keep
so I know we have the third event down under new business. And maybe it's good to go ahead
Sure.
and just kind of cover that ground. While we're on the topic, not to jump around too much. But as I was sharing with John, previously, I think it'd be helpful as far as organizing this in-person event, which is only a couple of months away. I think we are targeting mid to late October. It seems like it'd be helpful to have, you know, to the extent John could use some help. It'd be helpful to have a subcommittee to try to brainstorm a program. We would need to find the homeowners to do a tour. I know the other issue that had been possibility that had been raised was, you know, something at Llewellyn's. Since they have solar and seem to be sort of passionate supporters of that.
That might be easier than a tour.
Yeah, I mean, it would be simpler. I don't know, you know, how much benefit is there to people visit? Could they ask questions of homeowners who have solar? Because that's the real value of the tour, I gather, is being able to have those one-on-one interactions and ask those questions that that are on the minds of people who have interest in solar.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it.
Could, if it were at Llewellyn's, maybe a few homeowners could be there with like a little poster of their house. And they could, and that would be super simple for people, you know what I mean, you just move one to the other.
Yeah.
And
get-
I think
Yeah,
I think
or
going to
like,
the actual location is critical.
Uh-huh.
Because people are gonna wanna look, because I've seen, right around the corner from me, there's two of my neighbors have solar on their garages. So people could look at it and go, oh, okay, well, and they wanna see which way is the sun falling, how big are their trees? How do they connect the wire to their main fuse box? You know, how much would it cost? I think it's that, and then we're also asking less from the homeowner, because they could just be puttering around doing their Saturday morning
right,
grass cutting,
Right.
and if anybody comes by, they talk.
right.
Right.
Or I thought like if we do the yard sign and they have the QR code, there could be a hub that people could put questions and everyone could see, you know, from homeowner to home, if it was just one hub and, you know, if they thought of a question later or if they weren't able to be there at that moment. But some sort of QR code maybe on the yard sign that would answer questions for them or that they could submit answers there might be helpful for people too.
I guess either way, it seems like there's a substantial amount of work to do to organize this event. And I mean, are there opinions on whether it'd be useful to have a subcommittee that could do some of the planning and maybe bring something back to the commission at the next meeting?
I think it's a great idea, and I know she's not here, but I would want to ask Elizabeth Shappy, just because she's actually got solar on her roof and I think could represent the perspective of a homeowner who's got to be thinking about being a part of it and what it is. I'm hoping that Sean can be helpful on it. Because, and then one sort of follow-up question, maybe to Sean, maybe to Tim, is, does the city have a list of who's got residential solar? Does you have to like?
Yes, well, I don't know if this list is, Jamie gave this to me, I don't have it digitally. And the addresses are on here, but not the names of the people. So I'm not exactly sure where this came from, but I do have addresses and it includes their permit number and the contractor they used. Not their contact information or even their names.
So
So
the
it's,
permit,
Yeah, maybe.
by permit, you mean city
Find out
permit?
that information.
okay. Todd and Vera are saying that we could probably find this information from Mara, the permitting person.
Planning department may have that information. Yeah.
So I can take that action item.
Yeah, would there be any problem with just then sending them a letter saying, oh, we're doing this solar house tour on thus and so day, would you be willing to, you know, be at your house for 2 hours and answer questions? Because I think people in Webster they'll be a lot more likely to go if it's Webster locations. And I think the more locations we get, in some ways the better, because people can then go to some places close to them.
Would Gross Solar have ideas for folks in Webster who?
They might, but I bet the vendors probably don't
Yeah.
share client lists with each other because they're in competition. Ameren would have the list, but I don't know that Ameren would be willing to give it to us or legally even could give it to us. I don't know, but I don't think they'd wanna anyway.
Thank you.
And I think also word of mouth, like I know at the earlier part of the meeting, somebody threw out Elizabeth Shappy's name. I think all of us, as we sit and, like, I'm gonna go knock on the door of my 2 neighbors who've got it on their garage and just say, yo, I'm your neighbor. Hey, why don't you participate in this thing and be a part of it?
Yeah.
Right. Well, so if we did the home tour, is there still, I think it seems to me that there might still be value in organizing something at Llewellyn's where you could perhaps have Gross Solar and have Ameren, have sort of the technical experts so people can go ask questions, get literature, get information. And we could, I think the idea was we could use that event to spread the word about if we we're able to structure the microgrant programs. That's a lot of things to sort of bring together all at the same time, yes.
So this reminds me, if you guys have done the holiday house tour, they always have a place at the end where you can go for cookies and, you know what I mean? So this is, Llewellyn's is our cookies, right?
Our beer.
Okay, right. So, but I think for people who have done that, and I think a lot of people have done that, that will feel really familiar. Like you go to some places,
Right.
houses, and then you go to another place for refreshments.
To tie it all together in one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds like a great idea, just is it, can
Yeah.
we get all that planned and
Pull it all
done in
together,
time to
right.
get
Yeah.
word out by
Yeah.
2 months from now?
I mean, the
Yeah.
thing is, that would be good is we could have somebody
A map.
there, like you said, in order to get the ball rolling easily, you know, instead
Right.
of having to fill out an application or go online and find something, you have somebody there you can connect with right away and then get started
Right,
that
The
way.
vendor will be happy to do that.
I'm sorry?
The vendor will be happy to do that.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I know I would be.
yeah.
I mean, that's-
But it'd be a good
online
touch
is
point
smart.
for us,
Yeah.
and, an opportunity to
Get
get
some
access.
data. Yeah, and you should find a way to get data on who's coming, attending and
Mhm.
Right,
where they live.
right,
How, yeah.
okay,
So Sean, or everybody, yard signs are on this list also. If a letter goes out asking people if they are willing to join the tour. I'm not sure what yard signs meant here, but people could have yard signs that went beyond the tour that just stuck in their yard, says, I've got solar, here's a QR code.
That's, yeah,
Right.
back to what
Right.
Andrew was saying.
Is that what, yeah,
You almost
okay.
even have.
Right.
Or in like almost have a map too. I thought of the holiday house tour as
Yes.
well. And you just have
Yes.
a preset map and they can come and go as they please
Right.
within these 2 hours. And then please celebrate our celebration at Llewellyn's to learn more about it. I know people that do host, they have gotten a gift card, but it would maybe a cupcake or something would be nice to give them for hosting. But yeah, I think that would be helpful and just make it as easy as possible for people. So then they'd be more willing to participate.
You can do it on our own time too.
Right.
Schedule.
Right.
I agree.
yeah,
I think those signs would be similar in appearance anyway to the no mow April signs, right?
Right.
I'm not
Right.
sure how those were created, but,
Terry Coyne design,
oh, from Green Space.
yes.
Okay.
So maybe she'd be willing to design a celebration sign.
She has a lot of
She
talent,
does.
doesn't she?
does,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
okay, so, John, would you be willing to kind of lead up the subcommittee, and do you want to reach out to Elizabeth?
Yeah, yeah, I'll
Um,
give her a call when I get back to town. And then Sean, I'll work with you to see when you guys figure out the letter and get the letter out, how many bites we get. And I'd encourage everybody on the commission, if you remember other neighbors like Elizabeth Shoppy that's got solar, or if you're like me and you can see somebody's solar panels and you've been looking for an excuse to knock on their door, this is your excuse. And I find most people, it's like people who drive electric cars. They love to talk about their damn electric cars and all the gears and gizmos. Solar people the same. They love to talk about their solar panels. I think it's an easy ask. We just
Yeah.
gotta gotta figure out how do we get the ask made.
We don't have a date yet for this event.
Right,
We have the dates nailed down for the power hours, but not for the home tour
Right.
celebration.
We have a working date. It's not a final date, but we do have a working date. That's a Saturday. I think in my email, again, I'm away from a computer or anything. And that's not written in stone. That's just
Yeah,
sort of, I think what Jamie and I were kicking around, but, so if it conflicts with something, I think it should be a Saturday morning. Can't be too late because the weather gets bad. It should be after the in-person and virtual power hours.
so we're
But-
talking mid to late October, is that, I
Yeah,
mean, that's,
yeah.
okay.
And did anybody find my email? Did I actually?
But it's the October 7th and 14th, it looks like,
Yeah, that,
are the Saturdays.
Yeah, if we're doing one on the fifth, the seventh would definitely be
Yeah,
too soon.
Too soon, yeah.
so the 21st or 14th.
Well, I could reach out to Llewellyn's and see if they have
True.
event space on one of those dates and we could go from there. If that's-
Or is there, could you connect it with, or is it too much? Like they do like the trick or treating around the Webster downtown and that's families outside already. Like, is there something else that you could kind of connect it with where, you know, people are going to be in town and already planning to be walking around?
It's a Saturday thing.
I don't know. I just take my kids every year to downtown Webster trick or treating.
Well, wait, but, yeah,
I don't know if that would be too much. Might be.
yeah, we already
Isn't-
got a lot of moving parts. it seems to
Right.
me.
I just thought like a day that everybody would already be out in Webster anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the other important piece of this is if we're going to have this micro grant program figured out to announce, we need to give ourselves time. We need to make sure we have that ideally up and structured before
Yes.
before this date. So, you know, I would err on later rather than earlier in October.
Oh, and
Uh,
Jeff, remind me what the microgrid idea is?
Yeah, so the idea was because we had dollars in our budget this year for sustainability, we were gonna commit, correct me if I'm wrong, $20,000
Yes.
of that budget to, and these would be basically sort of rebates for residential rooftop solar and or EV charging. We've got to decide how that would be structured, how much for each, and go through this. I don't know who at the city would be the contact for how to structure that program.
It'd most likely be Eric Peterson.
Okay,
But we have to decide on the amount
amounts,
and
correct.
tell him, this is how we're choosing to spend our.
right,
He would
so.
set it up.
So, I mean, ideally, I think it makes sense for the subcommittee to work on that. Along with the in-person tour, the home tour. Because 20,000 sounds like a lot of money, but. If you're dishing out several $100 grants at a time, it could go relatively quickly. Yeah, Carla.
I'm just remembering, is it Porch Fest in October?
Yes.
Do we wanna not compete with that or?
Yeah, we could be with that.
Yeah,
Not compete with what, excuse me?
Porch
Porch
Fest,
Fest.
I don't know that that's gonna be a big thing. I think it's in South Webster this year.
Usually on a Sunday
Which I think it's gonna be pretty
afternoon.
concentrated in one area in Webster. And I know people
Oh,
will
I think
travel.
it's on Sunday, October 1st.
Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
it's gonna be October 1st, so that's fine.
And we're good,
Okay,
we're good.
okay.
We're good. Okay,
So for the time being, I thought, John, if when Elizabeth gets back, if, I don't know, the three of us could do a Zoom or get together. And then maybe bring an idea to the commission for the September meeting where we would ideally. You know, try to make a final decision on a structure and date and plan for the home tour. If
that sounds
that's-
great.
That's doable.
What's wrong? There's October. Just.
Well,
Not finding a date on.
Right. No, I'm thinking, I was thinking less than that, just, I don't know, what the- I mean, I honestly don't know what the demand is gonna be for a solar grant.
Right,
I don't know if there's any way to know that,
right.
There really is.
but you know, even if it was 500, if we set aside. 15, you know, I'm just spitballing here, but if you set aside 15,000 for solar, $500 for EV charging.
Yeah.
You know, $500 grants, that's what, 30 grants for solar across all of Webster. I mean, I don't know how long that would last, to be honest with you. But I think the solar grant, if we decided to include grants for putting in home EV chargers, that would go faster than solar, but it's a much less significant investment.
Right.
So the dollar amount would need to be smaller.
Right.
So I just think we just need to sit down and hash out some ideas for what those amounts should be, so that we can get
Yeah, and I
that.
think, sorry, and I think there's probably people in the industry we could talk to say, who've got experience with that, to say, hey, what is enough to make a difference, but not so much that it doesn't draw as much total participation as we want. Because if I'm a solar company, or if I install EV chargers, I'm probably have a pretty good idea of what those numbers are.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think the rebates, my initial thought was that the rebates is not gonna be such a giant number that, it's going to push people over it's not gonna be the tipping point for making a decision to put solar on your roof, but it's going to be an amount that can help cover, some of the more incidental costs associated with doing that.
Permitting. fees.
Permitting, right? So, okay, so I guess the goal then would be to come back at our next meeting with some firm ideas on how the home tour will be organized, a date and a structure for the micro grant program.
And who will be coming back with those ideas?
The subcommittee, the solar subcommittee, which right now is John and I think Elizabeth.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on solar before we move on?
One thing.
Yeah.
John had suggested to me about getting an article in the Webster Kirkwood Times about Webster Groves' solar push right now. So once we have, I'm happy to do that. And I think the idea was to have a member on this commission, so likely Elizabeth, since she has solar panels, if she's willing to be featured in the article and talk about the upcoming events.
That'd be great.
So I'm happy to take that and start working on it.
Yeah.
And then also we would announce, and maybe even at the power hours, but that Webster has updated the codes, making it easier to install solar. So that would be a nice piece to include in the communications.
Yeah, it seems like we could definitely have somebody from the city who can explain that permitting update, because people might have old information or have never even thought about it. But some people in Webster are afraid of the codes people in this town.
That is
And may count themselves out prematurely when in fact it is possible to pull this off.
Right.
well
Right.
said.
Yeah, no, that's a good point about sort of advertising the changes that the city's made with respect to permitting.
And there's a lot of mythology out there. I don't know if by mythology, I don't necessarily mean it's false, right? But it's this whole belief system that people kind of buy into and reinforce about the inspectors of the code.
Yeah. And then lastly, the value of having Ameren, if we did an event at Llewellyn's, is there are people out there that for whatever reason cannot put solar on their roof. And I would love Ameren to be able to talk about their community solar program, which I don't think gets put out there enough, because a lot of people don't know about that option.
Karen, did you have something you wanted to say?
I was just asking if, I wanted to ask if the city, is there a permitting fee that the city has, or is that something that the city would consider waiving as an incentive?
That would be the powers to be, I think that decision.
Do you know how much it is?
I don't. Like, our permits range anywhere from $80 to maybe $150.
$40
Yeah, no, it's based on the
Cost of construction.
Correct.
For house
Yeah,
permits.
so it
it's a
varies,
Couple thousand, yeah.
And how many inspections,
And how many
$3
inspections,
inspection,
yeah.
I've seen them up as high as $250, but
Mhm.
they would still have to be, I don't know, that's a, to be as tough, yeah.
Yeah.
A good point, here's your $500 rebate, but we're gonna charge you $500 in permit. fees,
Right, right,
Sort of.
yeah,
But if you did permit fees, it probably would eat up that money. I mean,
Right. yeah,
it would be too little for the pot of money we have.
right, right. Okay, let's move on to new business and, okay, first is topic commission leadership.
I think you're doing a great job.
So I am vice chair and, so here's what I'm gonna suggest, because I know Amna and Elizabeth aren't here today, and that is to give thought to, this issue of commission leadership. And hopefully we can have everybody at the next meeting, and we'll just plow along for the next month. If anyone's interested, in terms of stepping into a chair or vice chair role, I would hope speak up. I know in the past, I think we reluctantly, I think Jamie ironically kind of reluctantly took it on because no one else was stepping up to fill the
I
void.
do remember that, yes.
And I think I reluctantly said, okay, I'll be vice chair. I know, I mean, with Sean here, I think a lot of the work that fell to the leadership of the commission is not gonna require quite the same amount of time.
It can definitely help alleviate some of that.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I'm happy to run meetings, but people have a real passion for leading this commission. I would recommend stepping up and let's hopefully we have a little more time on the next agenda to talk about this.
And I think, oh, Jeff, I
Yeah,
think
John.
that's good, but I'm gonna show my cards. I think you're doing a great job as chair. And so I would encourage you to consider that because I think you are doing a great job at it. So,
Well,
thank you.
I appreciate it, but I really want to talk, I mean, Amna and Elizabeth, I want to have everybody here, sort of have that discussion, because we are gonna need a vice chair, even if I
We're
want
locked
to
in.
chair, so,
It's a lot to do.
yeah,
It's a big
Yeah.
deal. It's a big role.
No.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're like, when push comes to shove, you're responsible, right? Like, if nobody else volunteers or somebody can't do it,
right,
you're the last stop.
right.
Which is,
We,
Yeah.
this seems to come up every time we need a new chair for the commission,
Yeah.
is everyone's,
well, I'm just thinking about it and how many
and
other,
Paul's not here as well, so,
Right. Yeah.
there's another member, I'd love to have everyone.
Yeah. but you can only fulfill that role for so many parts of your life, you know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
depending on how many other situations you're that person for,
Right,
you may or may not be able to do it in this situation.
right. All right, that brings us to rec center and city hall red bag recycling pickup, and I guess we need a replacement for Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie was picking him up and taking him to the recycler. I don't even know where that is.
So,
Did you
it
say
looked,
Kirkwood? maybe?
Yes, she said Kirkwood
Oh.
to me.
okay, it looked like people were dumping a lot of other
I'm sure they were.
things in.
Grocery bags and
So I guess we would need somebody to step up and take on that. We want to continue to do this.
it needs to be done weekly because they fill up quickly.
Okay, so that's kind of a significant responsibility.
Yes.
Maybe by month, you know, each member takes
Yeah,
a month,
rotated.
yeah.
I would probably be, what, or what if we picked weeks? Like, I could commit to like 1 week a month. More easily than I could commit to a whole month.
More importantly, do we have a volunteer for? I mean, we
Right
could, we
now,
could
no,
do,
right
yeah,
now.
we could do, if we have somebody do it this week, we could, we could just rotate it. Depending on people's availability. I don't know if that's gonna get too difficult with, something came up, I can't do it.
I can do it this week.
Okay,
So it's
That's
over
terrific.
where, it's over in the,
One in the front of City Hall.
yeah, I've seen that
And
one.
there's one in the front of the rec center.
and then we can check with
Okay,
Jamie to see where they go.
okay. Okay.
She told me the Kirkwood,
Repository.
yeah.
It's just like your general recycling place?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a vague idea where that is, but I'll
It's
find it,
over on,
I'll find it, or I'll ask Jamie.
If you email me, I can do the next week too. Just,
Okay,
Great.
just remind me, say, okay, my week's done, your turn.
do it like a relay, right? Yeah, I'll do it and then I'll be like, did it, Andrea, you're
Yeah,
next. And then-
No, we have a recycling subcommittee, all
Accurate.
right.
Exactly.
I see how you're working here.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Very good leadership.
all right. Well, at least we've got the next 2 weeks and I'll try to reach out and see if we can't get a regular weekly rotation. Maybe see if that works.
How many of us are there? Like,
There's
what,
9?
9? Yeah, that's like once every couple of months.
Yeah,
I
we
think I could definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I
Okay,
probably have to go to Kirkwood occasionally anyway, you know?
I was going to ask about the pumpkin smash as since with the construction starting on the Moss Field parking lot. We're gonna need to find somewhere new for that. Elizabeth is not on, I can shoot her an email, but Todd, do you have any ideas? Where in the world we're gonna do the pumpkin smash?
No idea.
Okay,
Because Mossfield is off.
but
It's for
city,
almost 2 years.
what about the city half of that parking lot?
We'd have to talk
Uh-oh.
with Scott Davis, the Parks and Recreation.
But I know, but in November, you're not gonna have all the swimming traffic.
Right,
You're gonna have hockey
Hockey,
traffic.
yeah.
I'd have to talk to Scott.
Or is there anywhere over at the Public Works?
Just do it out front at the Public Works in the parking lot that's out front.
Like, what's that event look like as far as attendees or
So the-
is it, what's the duration?
When I've staffed it, it's been maybe 2 or 3 cars at a time, will pull up, unload their pumpkins, smash them up, throw them in, they'll drive away. It's not
How do they
been,
smash?
What?
How do they smash them? Like, just throw them in the-
throw them on the ground, sledgehammers.
Okay, fun.
Jamie brought an axe one year and I brought, but which didn't mix too well because I brought a group of Cub Scouts.
So like, oh.
So-
Yeah.
It's a great combination.
Who love the idea of wielding a heavy axe at a pumpkin, but it just wasn't a good, wasn't a good idea. So, maybe no axes this year.
How do you circle people in and out over there,
Yeah,
Todd? You know what I mean? How do you circle people in and out of there? If they come in the entrance, they're gonna go through the yard and get out the other gate?
No, we do that.
Well, if it's just one car at a time, it's probably not a big deal, you know?
yeah, if you could pull up,
Just to.
have people
the
to help
street.
unload, and then the car could,
Yeah.
right?
Right,
Okay.
keep going down the street, not even get into the parking lots.
Well, I will send Elizabeth a note and I'll have Elizabeth get in touch with you, Todd, if she has questions about potential locations or.
I'll get with Scott, see what he says.
And obviously, Sean, I'm looping you in on everything, just to make sure. Because I know we're talking about, we usually start it before Halloween, don't we, or is it all after Halloween?
Would be after, I would think.
Is it all after?
I think so.
Okay. But that's only a couple of months away, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And is that for multiple days or just
No, we usually
one day?
do it like one Saturday morning.
Okay.
I think it's been 8 or 9 to 12. And then we just take turns staffing shifts. I don't think we've done it more than half a day.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I haven't done it, but so the pumpkins go in like a truck and then it takes them somewhere?
Yeah, the company, I think Elizabeth's worked with, I don't know
Yeah,
what
she's-
company, but they'll bring a big dumpster basically.
Mm.
And people, you smash up your pumpkins and all the pieces get tossed in the bin.
And then they compost them.
Yeah,
I think they use it for animal feed.
Animal feed, yeah.
So
but
far,
it's been really successful.
Yeah.
People really, the participation's been
Yeah.
great,
so
so.
really,
It would be fun to have one of the pigs there. You know, just kind of munching on them a little bit. It'd be an attraction. I know some pigs that would probably come. And how we.
And some dogs that need to.
Yeah,
That's true, that's true, I do too.
Animals, it is good, very good.
Yeah, they recommend pumpkin puree if your dog is constipated.
But not in a can because it has too much sugar.
No,
That's
yes.
what, yeah, too much sugar. You gotta cook it down yourself.
All right,
On that note,
on that note, right. Then let's, I think the only thing on our agenda now is to set the next meeting, which, if we go by schedule, would be Monday, September the 18th. Does that work for everyone? I hope. I may have a conflict for the second half, but I'll be here for at least half of it, so then we would definitely need someone to run the meeting. If I have to
we'll
be.
put that at the beginning of the agenda.
There you go.
Or maybe we should have it a different day.
You gotta check the city's calendar,
Yeah.
'cause there's meetings going constantly.
All right.
Yeah, we'll try to keep it on the 18th. I'll see. I mean,
Third Monday is ours.
if I can't find a
So I don't know.
substitute for.
Corin
But-
and Carrie about maybe.
All right, with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes,
I
all
move-
right, motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
thank you.
The sun